spring of 2019, and like I'm like in Nora Hendrix. I was one of the first residents there, and like there was nobody there when I first moved in. It was kind of chill, and then as people started to fill in, it like changed and changed and changed. But it was like completely humanizing. Like you can't get in the building; they have to buzz you in. Like you can't like leave for any extended period of time, or they'll like put out a missing persons for you. Like if they can't reach you. Like when I went to Toronto to do art and play this show, I got phone calls from them being like, "Where are you? We were gonna put out a missing persons," and I'm like, "Dude, I told you that I was leaving for 2 weeks, but they don't have organization." And it's just like, I don't know. I got a TBI breaking up a fight because the staff didn't know what the fuck to do. You know, like which changed my whole life for like a whole year. Anyway, it was a bad time in my life. Bad time in my life, and like I feel now like it's just like that's where you put the niggas who you want to die, or the ones who you want to end up in prison. Like it's either a pipeline towards death or prison. That's what the SRO system is. It's like a place that you can contain people until you can get rid of them somehow. You know? Like it's not healthy long-term housing in any way. And nobody who I know who lived in that building, like, still lives in that building. Like everybody has tried their best to get out of that building who was in an okay place when they moved in there. Because it's like you just go down once you're there. Like the standard is like super low and the care is not available, basically non-existent. Like you're
And
like there's
sorry.
like a 19-year-old who just got a job who's the person who's responsible for letting you into your fucking house at night. Like it's like stressful, but anyway, I don't know. I just like I don't want to get too deep into it too because like a lot of the trauma that occurs in those spaces are things that I escaped by leaving after like 3 months and not staying there. Like I had an out, and like it still impact. I still ended up like homeless after living in Nora Hendrix, partially or directly, like because of the traumas I endured in that space because it made me very different, and like I lost a lot of relationships in the subsequent months after moving out of that place because of the way that I was like reacting to safety all of a sudden. Because you know when you like in it you kind of keep your fucking shit together, but then when you like get out of a really stressful place that's traumatizing, you release, and it's just like that can be stressful and really destructive. Like but yeah, I don't know, man. Living in Nora Hendrix was not good, and I don't think anybody who lives there deserves to be in those conditions. And I don't think anybody living in any single SR. There's a couple of them that are slightly less obnoxious further out from downtown that I've seen, where I'm like, oh, okay, like clearly you guys are like not having the worst time. But I do think it's like the level of control that's imposed on you for either being disabled or mentally ill or having a substance use problem or whatever, being low income, whatever lands you in the SRO, it's like suddenly you lose all of these human rights. Like I couldn't bring my partner over. If I had more than one partner, I had to get them all approved by like the building manager to even sleep in my bed with me. You know, like that's crazy to ask an adult human being who's already in pre-existing relationships to like give those up just to have housing. Like it's absurd. And like I could definitely not bring, like I had friends who had kids during that time where I was like I want to like cook for them, and what I would do is like make food and bring it out to a public park and meet somewhere because I couldn't bring people there. Like I could not bring like my family or my friends or anybody there comfortably. And so it was just like not a safe place to be, and I feel like it's not safe for almost anybody who lives there, and like it's not like helping anybody also who's like in the space to like recover in any way from the traumas that they've already endured. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's frustrating because like the bar is so low for our society and how we treat people who are struggling. Like, it's kind of like they'd rather you just die than actually, which is true. Like the lady in Toronto who got denied for housing for her like MCS, or like multiple chemical sensitivity, and she did, once they legalized like suicide for people with disabilities and people with depression and shit, she applied and now she dead, literally because she just couldn't find a place to live where motherfuckers wouldn't use like Dawn and Tide and shit, because the government wouldn't pay for her to move to somewhere like that, you know what I mean, because she didn't have her own income because she was disabled in multiple ways. And it's like, that's insane to me that it's like the level that it's at is where if you don't have the capacity to like work, then you just get sent onto this trail towards death. It's like a low-key gas chamber situation that takes a really long time and involves a lot of fucking suffering beforehand, you know? Like a die slow nigga situation. Anyway,
nigga,
that's
you
a good
ain't
place
gonna
to
work.
end it.
You ain't gonna work, nigga. You gonna die.
Mhm.
Is what the government is
And
basically
you're gonna die
saying.
slow and we gonna humiliate you about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like so done. And I was like frustrated too in that situation because you hear people talking about the place that I was living in this really positive light in these academic spaces and these social justice spaces. They'd be like, oh, they did this thing, it's so great, PHS, yay. And I would be like, okay, cool.
And it's still going now? Like, it's still
Nora Hendrix is probably gonna be there. Like, it's an SRO, it houses like 56 people, I think. It's like good. Like, I'm glad that SROs exist instead of absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
But the way that they are run, and the thing is, like, you have more overdoses in SROs than you do in any tent city that has ever been independently established in the city, all the way back to County Mountain, which was like 2017 was when like Alliance Against Displacement was doing a lot of work downtown, and they had a whole camp and they didn't have a single overdose all winter, you know? And it's just like, it's a trip because it's like, I don't understand how you can justify a system that kills more people than freedom, you know? Like, why don't they just create facilities and bathrooms and like covered dry spaces in like the empty lots that people tend to just occupy, instead of forcing them into these like prison like systems where it's like a prison. Like, I would be anxious to leave my room because I had PTSD from being imprisoned as like a youth, and like outside your door when you look down the hallways there's windows at the end, right? But there's this like braided fucking metal thing that you know that they can press a button and lock you in and lock all the doors and keep everyone inside at any time. And it's just creepy, man. Like, it's just like you don't feel even just at like an infrastructural level, you don't feel safe in those buildings. Like, even at an infrastructural level, like, it's just like not. And I still think like it's better than nothing, but honestly, nothing with less policing would be better. Like, the nothing with the policing we have now obviously is worse. But the nothing, if we took away the street sweeps and if we gave the people who are organizing independent like alternatives to the housing crisis like resources and like let them actually develop and create real infrastructure, like that obviously would be fucking better. But that's not what we have, so like they're, I guess, better than nothing. But anyway, it's a trip, bro. It's a trip. It's a trip, and it's also like I'm still recovering from that. Like, I had a full melty. Afrovan Connect did workshops that I didn't even know was happening, like, because I haven't really been able to like engage with Nora Hendrix like since I lived there. And it's like they put a short blip in their little doc about the cool shit they've been doing in the city, and I like went to see the doc because I like that org and I like those kids and they're fucking cool. And all of a sudden there was just a flash of the building and the entrance, right? And there was no talking about it. They didn't put a caption or anything. And I was like, are they going to talk about Nora Hendrix? And they just moved on to the next thing. And I was like, oh shit. So I backed away. I got kind of triggered. But then I had a full meltdown where I like went into my trauma in front of like a group of like dope black femmes who have worked really hard to make this art. And it like sucks because it like ripples out. Like, the trauma I endured in that building ripples out still years later into my community, because there is also like a very large lack of awareness of like what those spaces actually are. And so like the kind of like non-critical usage of the imagery of the space was super harmful to me as someone who has an intimate relationship with the space and has like trauma and triggers from the space. But it's also like, how they gonna know that? Because nobody fucking talks to the niggas who live in those buildings. There's a stigma as fuck around anybody who lives in those buildings, like, you know, like, and people lobby. In Kitsilano there was just a rally against building low-income housing, like literally just down the street from where my mom is, in her like government building. Like, fucking mental health outpatient that she's not allowed to leave, like, that I've been trying to get her out of for like a year, you know, like, but I'm like not stable enough to have like a dependent, so like they won't let me have her out of that place. It's fucked. Like, anyway, it's a whole trip, the world we live in Vancouver especially. I feel like it changes too. Like, Vancouver has a very, like, the tip of the fucking arrow of the neoliberal policy and like the development of like social experimentation to test those policies, I think often originates in port cities like Vancouver that have a lot of money and a lot of like corporate entities and like reasons to need to protect those interests, you know? So it's like fucked, but yeah. SROs are a fucking sad situation. It's a sad situation where like a lot of money goes into like creating something that's like maybe causing actually long-term more harm to the community than like good, but it keeps unsightly people like away, right? So you don't have to see the tent city, you don't have to see the people out in the streets living their lives. So it's better for like the optics of a city like Vancouver and what they want the city to look like internationally when they like take pictures of outside in Vancouver. You know, they don't want it to look like S.O.U.L, right? But it does, but they don't want it to. But like, it's just fucked. So like the SROs are like a way of like boxing people away so that they can like slowly die away from the public view in these like IKEA boxes. They're like painted with like cute murals and shit so that like yuppies will be like, well, at least they picked an artist. You know, like, I support the arts.
Meanwhile in Toronto, what did they do? What did they do to that
Chinese structure man?
How did they do him, yo? He's like, yo, I just want to build some homes.
Cases.
I just want to build some homes for people so they don't die.
So they don't die.
No, they said, nigga, what? They said, nigga, you want to do what?
For building
you want to do what?
Did you see those things? Like the pictures I saw of those things, they were like small, inobtrusive, perfectly built, level, nicely plain structures made out of new materials. It wasn't even like he was building like shanty shacks or like fucking crazy, you know? It was like a nice installation that could have been a piece of like weird esoteric industrial art.
Bro, a Green
like,
Party member in BC would purchase one of those as a tiny house for $250,000
It's so stupid.
and drop it on their stolen land.
It's so stupid.
You'll make me forget
And
that
then
we were all born blessed. That's dying in cages and dying in the street. Yeah. And I see the cage you designed for me. Yeah. Y'all keep on hunting the ones who are free. Yeah. You're scheming and plotting your ways to deceive. Yeah. But our spirit is life and it won't be contained. No. And it lives in each body that you have detained. Lives in each body will let us live. Let us live. Let us live. Let us live. You're crying out, fighting the shortness of breath. Yeah. While you watching us die with your boot on. No, it ain't broken the way it was made. Yeah. It's there to defend what was stolen from slaves. It's there to disrupt and to desecrate graves. It's there to break family, take children away. It's there to rain terror upon us each day. System of murderers paid by the state. New wave of slavery, incarceration. Built upon stolen indigenous nation. Genocide, war crimes, forced migration. Constant extraction to people the land. Gagging our mouths while they're binding our hands. Burn it down now, again and again. Abolish this evil for liberation. Let us live. Yeah. You make me forget that we were all born blessed. Yeah. You make me forget that we were all born blessed. Yeah. You make me forget that we were